Hey everyone, I'm Clayfect, and today is time for this year's roundup. Now, I know I am a little late to the party, as usual, but I have a good reason for it this time. You see, I have been working on a project that you are hopefully going to adore. Especially if you're looking for tips and tricks on how to start out with Polymerclay. But we're not going to talk about that now. No, right now we are going to talk about the sculptures of this year. 28 of them, in fact. Wow, I have been busy. And it's not even all of them, but sculptures like the ugly face troll and so on and did not make the list, but should get an honorable mention, since they are a part of the Clay family, but I think they are sort of out of the ranking system. So we're going to be a bit quick with the lowest rank because, come on, we need to get through 28 guys. So without further ado, let's just get started, shall we? For number 28, we have the Puffskin from Hogwarts Legacy. A pretty cute character, if a bit simple. It is literally just a hairball with eyes. The reason that it is so low on the list as it is because it was not that good. I was in the middle of my first sclerosis attack, which means that I literally couldn't see anything even if my life depended on it. So I trained myself up and it was sort of a training dummy, and it just really shows. It's bad. Now let's move on to number 27, Pascal from Tangled. And I don't know what to say, guys. It just really wasn't that good. It actually was so bad that I made my husband do the voiceover. Sometimes sculptures just doesn't turn out the way you want them to be. His eyes became both piercing and creepy at the same time. So the less said about the sculpture, the better. So now let's move on to another pet project of mine, inspired by the two jackdaws we raised this summer. I made this phoenix jackdaw in honor of them, and I like the idea of the sculpture. I actually also like the story of the sculpture, but there's just something about the head and something about the way it stands that it makes it seem off, in my opinion. But then again, it was my first bird, so who can blame me really? And I still miss my crazy bird babies. So let's move on, shall we? For number 25, we have the horse with no name. Now, I actually also like this story, and I really think the horse came out super great. The problem here is the hair. The hair just looked wrong, but then again, this was also my first horse, so I am pretty okay with it. It is sort of a little more meh, in my opinion. But it was a gift to a friend that is very dear to me, so of course this little horse has a special place in my heart, even though this place is the 25th. Now for number 24th, we have the Mooncalf from Hogwarts Legacy. And the idea was good. I actually think it started out great, but thankful to my luck with the avant-gardes, it didn't turn out as great, and one of the eyes sort of got crooked, and that is why it has such a low ranking on this one. I tried to play it off as a special Mooncalf that sneezes, but still, nah, it just wasn't good, guys. So now let's move on to number 23, the Wish Goat, where I try to beat Disney in goatness. And I will still say that I managed it, but I don't know. It just doesn't quite have the Clayfect factor, you can say. I definitely think that I will go back and do another goat, a better goat at some point. I am happy with it, it's just not the best of the best. So that is why it's ended up pretty low in the ranking. Number 22 is Roxanne, the cow that's holding a stop sign, another gift to a friend. Now, I really had fun with this sculpture. I loved making her look like she was angry and saying stop, the body language. I really had fun with that. The only reason that it is so low on the list is because it's really not that memorable to me. Sorry, little cow. 21 is Wildfred the second, made in honor of Wildfred the first. If you want to know the full story about my pet mouse, then there's a link in the description of all the videos we're going through. I really had fun making this sculpture. It was a simple design and I enjoyed dabbling in a little bit of a more realistic style. Plus, it was the first time that I tried to make whiskers with hot glue and it just works like a charm. I really liked this little guy, though I didn't like him enough to give him a higher status because there are just so many other great ones. Now for number 20, my moonstone turtle lamp, Miss Sophie. Now, this sculpture I really had a lot of fun with. It was challenging, it was something different, and I am really happy about the result. But to me, my story was sort of, yeah. So that is why she got a little lower score than I normally would do. Sadly, I don't have this sculpture anymore. It was actually my first art piece that I managed to sell to a stranger because my family needed food. I'm not that sad about it though, because it gave me a chance to actually help support my family through my art, and that meant a lot to me. So sorry not sorry, little Miss Sophie. Now for number 19 we have Loui. This was my first commission piece, and the first time I tried to make furniture, and the first time that I tried to make something as realistic as I can on the skill level that I'm at the moment. Now my personal style is not realism, but I actually really love how he came out. I love the tiny details and I'm very happy with him. And I was told that the owner of the clay Loui and the real Loui was very happy with the sculpture. So there's not much more to say on that front, other than I really gotta meet the real Loui, now that I spent so much time making the clay Loui. Now staying with the dog, on the 18th place we have when I turned my lovely little girl Jolene into a Pokemon. Now this idea I thought was really good, and I did in theory enjoy making her, but there was just something off with the whole sculpting process. I wasn't feeling it, guys. And I don't think I did my little princess any kind of justice. But that being said, it did turn out pretty cool. I do love the eyes, and it is a good sculpture. It's just not good enough, in my opinion. But then again, what would be good enough to that little cutie pie? Now, onwards to number 17, Grumpy and Jumpy, my two mango frogs. Now, I don't know how I got the idea to make mango frogs, and I do love the sort of opposites, that one looks really grumpy and the other looks way too happy about it. I was very into blending colors, so I had a lot of fun painting these guys, even though I'm usually not a big fan of painting. The only negative thing I can say about it is I really didn't enjoy the story that much. Plus, I don't know how, but I think I managed to make two mango frogs a little bit too generic. This sculpture found its home with some of my family friends. They are the true version of Grumpy and Jumpy, and now they can sit and think which one is which. Just to be a little bit devious. On the 16th place we have actually one of my newer characters. the baby Yeti. And oh my god, for fluffing fluff's sake, there was so much fluff. It probably would have ranked higher if the texture didn't drive me that crazy as it did. I love the idea that the Yeti is looking at a little snowflake, and I was so happy that Mr. Clayfect would make me that snowflake. Technically it is a very good and sturdy piece in my opinion. I am very happy with it, but it's getting harder and harder to rank them, and the fluff was its demise, guys. I'm sorry. Speaking of impossible textures, welcome to the trial of patience I had with my very first, very textured sculpture, Charlie the Jambear, number 15. Now, by the way, his pose and his expression, I have definitely got a lot better since that time, but the texture is still incredible in my opinion, and the story I made for this little fella is by far the best story in my opinion. I am so proud of myself for finishing that sculpture simply because of the texture, and I loved that I tried to incorporate something other than clay into the sculpture. Even though our video making wasn't that great at the time, it's still a solid number 15, I have to say. For place number 14, we have the killer rabbit. Well, the reason that it is on place number 14 is actually not because of the killer rabbit, because even though the rabbit turned out just like I wanted him and I am happy with him, the thing that takes the cake is Archie, the skull. I'm just so happy with how Archie came out, and the story that I managed to make of the skull is incredible. Now, it has come to my attention that some people think that the killer rabbit does have a very different relationship with Archie, and judging by the position, it doesn't look like Archie is a willing participant in that case. And to those people, all I can say is, how dare you? Of course he would be a willing participant. But I'm sorry guys, I didn't see it like that when I made the sculpture, I have to say. But now that you have seen it, you cannot not see it. So you're welcome. Now, let's move on to number 13. The Nifler. Now, with that sculpture, there was just so many elements and so much texturing. It was one of my larger projects, and I am very, very happy how he turned out. I'm also happy with the background story that I gave him. There isn't any negative things to say about him, actually, other than it was a very long and hard project. But then again, that also gave me the opportunity to learn a lot of new things, like semi how to cut glass, and I had a fight again with my airbrush. That's also always fun. I love his fur feather texture. I love his crown. I love the big pile of shiny stuff that he's sitting on. The only reason he didn't make the cut to the top 10 is the glitter bomb accident. For more about that, there's a link down in the description below. Now for number 12, Hope the Hippo. Now, I'm not quite sure on why I like Hope as much as I do, but I really do. I love the little hippo. But I don't have a special connection to the hippos as a species. The sculpture is sort of simple, but sometimes simple is better, I think. She's by far not one of my newest sculptures, and the video didn't do that great, but she somehow managed to worm her little fluffy body into my heart. I still have the sculpture and smile every time I look at it. Plus, if you want some entertainment, then you really should give this video a try. In my opinion, it's one of the most funniest videos I have ever made. So yeah, there isn't much more to say about this sculpture. So let's just quickly move on to number 11, the Forest Spirit. Now with the Forest Spirit, it was actually a collab between my good friend Clayfect and me, where I turned her drawing into a sculpture. And I think it was incredibly fun and challenging, not only to work with one of my best friends, which is a privilege because she's such an amazing artist as he is, but also the precision and the technique. I really pushed myself here. I do realize that in that video I came out sort of broody compared to my normal self, but that's just the way I am around Clayfect. I don't know, she's always the optimist and happy, and I'm always the broody teenager. I don't know how it happens, but it happens. I hope that one day we can make another spirit together, because I really had fun with this project. Clayfect is such a joy to work with, and her character ideas are just amazing in my opinion. So yeah, I'm still trying to convince her. Maybe if you yell really loud in the comments, "Come back Clayfect," we can make her get out of hiding. Now for place number 10, we do have the Yin Yang seals. And this was my first time playing around with resin, and it really shows there was a lot of heat damage. But I love the symbolism and the simplicity of the sculpture. I also love the lore of them, and I just think the sculptures in itself turn out great, and even with the heat damage, I actually was very happy with it. Not to pat myself on the back, but giving the moon faces down the back of the seals just gave it that simplistic beauty combined with the cuteness of the seals. So yeah, it's a 10 on 10 for me, and if it wasn't for the heat damage the darn resin made, then it wouldn't be a question of if it would have been in the top 5. I had Mr. Clayfect's help on this piece too, but that is hardly any news now, is it? That man helped and support me so much so that I can only be grateful to him. I mean, we met each other back in 2010, and since then we have not just become husband and wife, partners and lovers, but also a piece of each other, just like the seals. So that is why it has a very big place in my heart. Now for number 9, we have the newest member of the Monster Baby group, Krampus. And with him I actually don't have that much to say about him, because I have had him for such a short time, so I haven't had the time to give him the look of judgment just yet. Right now I just think he's a good figure, and he was very fun to make because I had to play around with folds, which I love, and different kind of textures which just look good. So yeah, overall I'm happy with him. The only half-ish negative thing I can say about the sculpture is that it wobbles a bit, and when I looked through the monster lore with Clayfect eyes as I usually do, it was very difficult to make a good take on this little demon. But other than that, he's great in my opinion. Love the details. Now, let's get back to something way older. Coming in at number 8, we have Brunia from Frozen 2, the little fire spirit. Now, it was the first time I tried to make something a little bit more advanced, playing around with silicone, and oh my god, it was a challenge at that time. I had to get Mr. Clayfect to help me, and even he had problems with it. But thankfully we kept going, and I kept changing until I was satisfied with this sculpture, and I am still very happy about it today. Not only because I took inspiration from my own leopard geckos, but also because I actually managed to make a sculpture that looked exactly how I wanted it. It was a very big moment for me. At a 37, we have Stan Steve, the little robot that could. Not only is it one of Mr. Clayfect's favorite stories and sculptures, but it was also incredibly fun to make for me because it was so different from what I usually make. I think he turned out super great. I love the details with the little heart, and I'm very happy with the story as well. It is sort of morbid that he's holding his heart in his hand, literally, but it was a difficult time for me trying to handle my sclerosis. I'm still not quite there in handling it and accepting it at all, if I have to be honest, but I am quite a bit farther than this Clayfect you are seeing right there. But that was my way of working through it, which is why I dedicated it to my friend that is also battling with a chronic illness, so it has been supportive of me like all the time. So yeah, that is why it is at number 7. On a more positive note, at number 6 we have baby Medusa, the first humanoid creature I ever made. And even though it was my first try at making a somewhat human-like figure, it actually went very well. I'm still very happy with her. The hair though, oh my god, the snakes and the hair. It was totally worth it, but still, there's a reason you haven't seen me making any kind of cute snake just yet, guys. So many snakes. But even though I had no idea on how to make anything look like human, even a cartoonish human like baby Medusa here, she just managed to come out great, and I am super happy. It's always nice to nail something at the first try. Oh my god, I forgot the snake eyes. The tiny eyes on the snake guys. They drove me crazy. I'm literally sitting here getting flashbacks. So before I change my mind on her ranking, why don't we move on to number 5, the Owlbear cub. Now, I'm still slightly addictive to Baldur's Gate 3, guys. I have to admit it, it is a phenomenal game, and maybe my view is a little bit colored by the love of the game, but I also think that this sculpture just is super simple and super cute, and I really like it. It was actually one of many Mr. Clayfect requests, and he wanted it to look sort of confused and goofy. Well, I don't know how, but I sort of made it more sassy and goofy than confused in my opinion. But I still love it. I love the posture and the simple expression that it has. Plus, it's a freaking owlbear. How can you not love it? I'm also happy with the background story that I made. Plus, when I dove in deep into the D&D universe and the history about it, it was actually really interesting to hear. There really isn't much more to say on this front, so why don't we quickly move on to number 4, the Cerberus puppy. This is from my series Can I Do It Better, where I take an old sculpture I have made and try to see if I can do it better now. And oh my god, guys, I really did better in my opinion. I am just in love with this sculpture and still is. Not only just because of the details and the cuteness that I managed to get out, but also when you look at the sculpture, it is actually like you're seeing a story for itself. And don't even get me started on the take on the Cerberus from Greek mythology that I made. I just think it was genius, not to pat myself on the back, but I am really proud of this one. At this time, there isn't even really anything different I would have done with this sculpture. Sculpture-wise, when it came to creating videos, we still had a lot to learn. Now, on a very strong third place, we have Wendy the Wendigo. Now, I went into this project with the same level of passion and idea making as I always do, but for some reason it just became a little bit better. The clip of the movie was a little bit better. I had a little bit more fun with it, as you can see. And the story was just ingenious compared to what else I had made. Everything just went very, very well with the sculpture, and the best thing about it was you guys noticed it and gave my country music loving little Wendygo Baby a spike. The first spike that I had ever gotten, and it was amazing to see that other people loved Wendy the Wendigo as much as I did. That is why this sculpture means so much to me, because it just proves if you're passionate about something and you keep going, no matter your skill level, no matter how your mindset is that day, then it will pay off. I am so thankful for all of you that had followed me this year. It really means the world to me. Just having people there supporting me, taking my baby steps as a sculptor and an artist. It really means a lot to me, guys. Thank you so much. And I am really looking forward to having a whole another year with you where I can share my creations. Now, before I get too mushy on you guys, let's move on to second place, Jack the Skeleton. This is Halloween, this is Halloween. Another video that spiked like crazy, and I am so grateful for it. I mean, I do understand why, because it is literally Baby Jack sitting on a swing with a removable Christmas hat. I just love this sculpture, and I loved how I made the swing on the twirly thingy. I still don't know what it's called, but I am so happy with it. Me being a big Tim Burton fan, it was important to me to do Baby Jack justice. And I don't know if I succeeded, but I can say I did my best, guys, and I just think he came out super great. I love the contrast, and I love that you can really see it is a Baby Jack. Now, the debate on whether it's a Christmas or a Halloween movie is, for my marriage's sake, went to a standstill, even though I am right. But Christmas movie or not, it is a very great sculpture that I am very pleased with. Plus, the swing swings. Now, let's move on to number one and the final on this list. And I have to go with the 9-headed baby Hydra. I mean, come on, I had to, guys. 9 heads. That's pretty impressive, even if it doesn't look good. Just placing 9 heads is impressive. Now, this sculpture was so challenging, and it took so long making all the heads. But it also gave me time thinking of their personalities. So let's start up with Bo. Bo is a happy boy. And even though he doesn't have much for brains, there's not much going on there. He is one of the more gentle heads. The same for Bird and Bree, though they are a little more clever and they are very curious. They get along well together and explore a lot when they get the chance. Then there's Brutus, that is sort of the leader of the pack. And if there is a mortal head, then it is Brutus. He is a bit of a know-it-all, but everybody likes him and everybody listens to him. When it comes to care and a gentle nature, then we have Belle. She's a very kind soul and just loves to snuggle. She gets along with everyone. Then we are on to Bebop. And Bebop has his bear. He's a very playful boy, never get tired of it, and brings a lot of fun into the mix. which is necessary because down under we have Brianna and Whitney. Now, they argue all the time. Nobody knows what they're arguing about, but there's always some sort of drama with those two. And last but not least, we have Bruno. And that is pretty much it for the heads. Even though it is my most difficult piece that I have made so far, simply because of all the necks and needed to make sure that the clay didn't crack around the neck, because then you were really in trouble. Also creating my own interpretation of the Hydra that has been illustrated so differently throughout time, and to make my take on the lore of the Hydra was so fun, and it gave it sort of a crooked view in my opinion, and I just loved it. And that is pretty much it for the Hydra, and it for this countdown, and it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to see you next time, but if you can't wait until next time, why not click on the scratch right? There, the winner of this year, the Hydra, is waiting for you. But until then, bye!